Shalom. My name is Mr. Andrew Williams. I have a testimony I'd like to share, which I experienced last night while sleeping at the park. I have to make it short because I got about 15 minutes. Last night when I was sleeping at one of the tables at the park in Tempe, I was suddenly woken up as I heard voices and footsteps coming toward me. It was 4 young men who was drunk, high. They were drinking beer, smoking and sniffing drugs, and making some noise. I was going to say something to them, but the Holy Spirit, Kadosh Rouge, put in my heart not to say a word to him, as the voice of God softly whispered in my ears to say, listen. So I just continued laid there in a meditation position with my hands folded across my chest. Listen. So they were speaking all kinds of stuff from education, religion, and drugs and stuff like that. And then try to make the story short as I'm watching the time on my watch. One of the white guys, because there was four guys, 2 white guys and 2 Mexicans. One of the white guys, he noticed a young lady who's also homeless sleeping on one of the tables on the other side of the park. She was by herself. And he told his friends, let's go over there, drag her off the table, and rape her. That's his exact words. I was going to rise up and say something, but once again, the Holy Spirit softly whispered in my ears, no, just listen. So I continued to sit there and listen. So they continued talking, because when the second white guy said, no, that's not good. So that's why they didn't went over there. So they went ahead and continued speaking. And so they started having their different conversations again. Then about 5-10 minutes later, the same guy brought up again, let's go over there and rape that girl. And they all looked at him. They all looked at the young lady across the park. And the guy who said no the first time said no again. And this time he said, no, we're not rape her. If I'm going to do anything to that girl, I will stab her. That's what he exactly said. So they looked at him. But nobody made no move to approach the young lady. So I rose up, sat up on the table, and looked at them. They looked at me. We didn't say a word to each other. And then about 30 seconds later, they went back on their conversation. And the Holy Spirit already told me, once again, don't say anything, don't do anything, just listen. So I sat there and listened. So once again, the guy said, let's go over there and rape her. And they looked over there, and they looked at him, they looked at each other. Then they finally looked at me as I looked at them. I didn't say anything. I was just being obedience to the word, to the Holy Spirit, not to say a word. But I was thinking in my mind, I'm not going to let them harm that girl. I'm not going to let them take advantage of her. I'm not going to let them rape her. I'm not going to let them stab her or kill her, whatever their intentions are. So they looked at me, deep in their thoughts. For some strange reason, they stopped their conversation as one of them said, well, let's finish our beer, finish sniffing our drugs, or taking their drugs, whatever it is. Because I don't know anything about drugs, and I don't smoke, drink, and do drugs, because I never did and never will. So they finished their cans of beer, smoked, I guess it's weed, marijuana, and sniffed some kind of drug off the table through their nose. And then they got up without saying a word to me and left the park. So I stood up and watched them and make sure they completely left the park, not to sneak over there and mess with the young lady. And then I stood there about good 10, 15 minutes, kept my eye on a young lady, observed the park, make sure that nobody else was around, sneaking around, and make sure that she was safe. Then I sat back down on the table, and then the Holy Spirit said, I could use you without using brute force and using power to protect other people. So I was impressed with that, because as a martial artist, I am very well trained with my hands and feet. I am a professional. I was trained with the U.S. government, so I could handle myself and I could protect anybody. So I was impressed with the fact that God told me by His Spirit that He could use me to protect people, like He used me last night to protect that young lady so she wouldn't get raped or get killed. So I thought I'd just share that testimony. So that's my testimony, how God used me by His Spirit to protect that young lady from being stabbed to death or being raped. So I figure I'd just share that onto you. You all have a good and blessed day. Shalom.